and a plethora of tools. Like I've even used, Excel and Google Sheets in the past, and this is just, miles better. So I really appreciate the oversight, the overview, and, some of the integration points as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. Shane, I might pass to you just for a quick little check on time and how we're doing. I think we have 2 more to go. I don't know if we have some folks ready to intro.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Vasco looks quite amazing. We are going to have Ashley and Kyle are here in the backstage. If you'd like to introduce them, and we'll push them right on there.
Absolutely. We'll have Ashley and Kyle from Momentum. So we have dual presenters here today. Momentum extracts valuable data from your customer calls. So it uses AI and automation, captures your forecast and churn risk, allows you to fill in Salesforce fields, shares product signals, and bring instant insights to your entire team. Ashley and Kyle, the floor is yours, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm Ashley, one of the co-founders here at Momentum. I'm going to give you guys a quick overview of kind of our vision, do a quick demo myself, and then I want to pass it over to Kyle, who's one of our customers. Thought it'd be great to kind of hear his perspective on using Momentum in action. So here's the quick kind of setup. We believe that companies are leaving behind one of the most vast and valuable sources of data that would work for their business every day. Your prospects and your customers are getting on calls with your team and sharing highly relevant information about your product, about objections, about your pricing, about where they came from. And what are you doing with that information? By and large, you're throwing it away. It's sitting in a cloud somewhere. If you're lucky, you might get a Salesforce note out of it. You might get some fields updated, but there's so much more information that we could be tapping into. And Momentum is that tool. We use automation and AI to extract that data out at scale and send it to the right people and systems. That might turn into a note in Salesforce. That might turn into a product signal with feedback. Might turn into a brief for your leadership team to understand what's been happening on a week's worth of calls across the whole team. The best part is Momentum is not another tool for your reps to adopt or log into. It sits behind the scenes. It integrates with your existing call recording tool, integrates natively with Slack and Salesforce, and that's really by design. We don't want it to feel like it's another tool. We want to basically be infrastructure for revenue teams to have the ability now to leverage AI and automation to just make this data work better and easier for them. So let me do a quick demo and show you it in action. Okay, so I'm going to use Kyle and Owner as our example. So this is a call that we had last week with them. Our CS team ran one of our weekly syncs. And after the call, we got one of our summaries piped into our account room, which Momentum powers. I've got the link to the call right here. Momentum handles making sure that this goes to the right opportunity, the right account. All of the linking of this call in Salesforce is already handled by Momentum. What's different about Momentum is the ability to customize the summaries. So we let you make sure that your summaries reflect what you care about as a business. So in our case, on customer success calls, we care about customer sentiment. We care about positive feedback, negative feedback, company objectives. So this is a note that gets automatically picked up, saved to Salesforce, and pushed to the right place in Slack. I'll jump over to and show you real quick. We've got some data insights that we've pulled out, and this is what I'm going to let Kyle focus on as in his part of the demo. We give you an email suggestion for follow-up. Another thing that I really love about Momentum is after these calls, if there's any sort of product feedback that gets mentioned, that goes into our product signals channel. So you could think of this as a needle in a haystack product. If your team is running hundreds or even thousands of calls in a week, it would be very difficult for, let's say, your product team to get feedback immediately after the call on what your prospects and customers are saying. But with Momentum, you can let us do the work for you. So in this case, Steve mentioned that he was struggling a little bit with one of our time-based notifications. And right away, this got sent to the channel, captured. This can be saved in Salesforce. And now we have insight into something related to the product directly from our customers.
Ashley, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you full screen?
Yeah, sure.
Kinda might make it a little bit. There you go.
Yeah,
John was requesting. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think it's I think it looks. There you go. Yeah, if you could like do the zoom in. I'm not sure what the shortcut is on the.
Yeah, zoom in is always the better way to go. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
One of the third use cases I wanted to show you guys is this weekly global review. So this is our briefs product. It's a new product we're launching that summarizes a set of calls and gives you kind of a narrative output, an understanding, a story of what's going on these calls. So in this case, this is a global review of, how do people think about our pitch, objections, pricing, competition. So these are all things that you can program. And this type of brief could be for a CS brief, a weekly product feedback brief, like I said, common objections. So you might be wondering kind of how is all of this set up? And let me jump into the back end of Momentum. We want Momentum to feel very self-service and easy to set up. We have a high-touch CS motion to make sure that we're doing really well in the prompting. But we also want you to be able to go in and kind of extract out the data that you need. So in this case, to set up Salesforce, the Slack routing for our calls, all I have to do is just pick, is this related to an account, an opportunity, a lead, or any? I match the Salesforce condition. So in this case, I want to make sure that it just is an active customer. This is where I can set in my own custom prompt for that summary. I could also toggle this off and I'll get kind of the Momentum out of the box experience. Here I've got the ability to kind of set some of those field extractions and where do I want this to go in Salesforce. Same for that product feedback that I showed you. I go into kind of our AI signals section. I put in product feedback. We have a set of prompt library that you can use as a starting point. So you put in the trigger prompt, what the signal should say. You are able to build kind of the Salesforce notification. And if there's any other follow-on prompts that you would like to put in, again, set the Slack destination, set where this goes in Salesforce, and you're pretty much ready to go. So let me go ahead and jump over to, let me stop sharing my screen and jump over to Kyle so he can kind of talk about some of how he's using the data extraction in particular.
All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah. Okay, cool. I've never used this platform before. So I'm going to quickly frame up how I think about AI generally and why we chose to use Momentum above like a whole ton of other tools. So in general, I think AI does an amazing job on pattern recognition, data enrichment, sort of fill in the blanks type of use cases. What you see marketed a lot online with like big promises and very little reality is stuff that is like much more ambiguous, opaque, and complex, where AI, I don't think, does a great job today. And that's like AI BDR. That's, give me all of your content and I'll turn it into 1,000 different things. Where there's ambiguity, AI really struggles. And so we have three major use cases for where we're using AI today. Lead enrichment, which is in-house machine learning models, custom GPTs to like create internal documentation. And this is our like main pillar, or the main pillar of our AI thrust has been using Momentum in particular to take unstructured data from calls transcripts basically and turn it into structured data within our CRM. And it's given us really huge benefit on a few different places. One, it's auditing and tracking rep adherence, which I'll talk about here specifically. It also just gets us so much more data than we would have had access to. And I'll talk about two specific use cases here. So this is a call transcript summary from Momentum. And so we get a bunch of the basics. What were the competitors that were mentioned, the problems that this customer talked about. But there's a couple really cool pieces here that relate to when Ashley was showing you how you can write your own custom prompts, and specifically write custom prompts that will write to different objects. It will write to the account object, the opportunity object, an event object. And so for us, if you look at this center screen, or screenshot, I've got the number of close attempts. So we know that in a high velocity SMB environment, the number of times the rep asks for the business is really important. And so we wrote a custom prompt. How many times did the sales rep ask the prospect to do business with us? Another really interesting one is we have a service fee. So we have a subscription fee and a service fee. And when reps don't specifically mention the service fee and they end up in onboarding, they oftentimes get really frustrated. Like, wait, I thought this was $500 a month. Now there's a service fee. I don't want to go through with this. And we don't lock people into contracts, so they can just opt out. And so I wrote a custom prompt to ask, did the sales rep specifically mention the 5% service fee charged to the guest at checkout? And then, just created a checkbox on the opportunity. It's write only by admins and Momentum, so the reps can't monkey around with it. And so now every time a deal goes through and the service fee is not mentioned, there's a separate trigger that you don't see here, a separate trigger that goes to the manager to go look at that call transcript and try to confirm it, or else there could be an issue on onboarding. And so for me, the reason I chose Momentum above a bunch of tools that I looked at was, one, it has a lot to do with the team. Like, I think when you're partnering with early stage software companies that are seed, Series A, like, you're really just making a bet on the founders. And so picking founders you feel like can do the thing is important. But two, the composability of the tool was really big for me. So being able to write custom prompts that are really specific to my business, that give us the power to do really unique things is really important. So this is an example of one of those triggers I mentioned. So another situation that is that is a potential trouble spot for us is if a sales rep closes a deal with a restaurant that's under construction. We sell to mom and pop restaurants. Because construction goes on longer than we think, then they lose momentum for our product, and they're interested in onboarding, and those show up as churn, and we don't want the churn. So you'll notice in this one, it goes into a special Slack channel with the managers. It alerts that something in this call transcript leads Momentum to believe that the restaurant's not open, and it actually brings in a summary of that call transcript, and then you can click through to the gong call clip right here, and the manager can go audit it. And so I am building a system of like awareness across all calls, so I can monitor, check, because your managers don't do this. Like, no one has time to do this stuff. So I can push this to the managers to make it easier. And then the other big output is I get a bunch of information that I struggled to have access to, both at owner and in previous places. And now I have the competitors mentioned field filled out for every single opportunity across the board. The completion rate for this field previously was 25%. Then we made it a required field, and the data was sort of crap, and it was like wrong. We like cross-referenced what the rep put in versus what we were pulling programmatically from the Gong transcript. So it's like, okay, well, that's useless and unreliable. And then with Momentum, now it pulls it directly out of the transcript, pre-populates it into Salesforce. And the reason I pulled this is we were just doing a bunch of competitive analysis. And it was just like such a pleasure to have reliable data that I felt like actually made a difference. So those are my two major use cases: monitoring audit adherence, super valuable, and then just like so much more data than you could possibly get in Salesforce made possible by Momentum. And happy to answer questions if we've got time to.
I think we do have a couple minutes. Ashley, I don't know if you had wrap it up, or I think we have a couple minutes for questions. If folks have any in the chat. I think one quick kind of observation I had just was very interesting. I like the accountability side, but there's also the notion. I think you both mentioned it. There a lot of times an individual AE is maybe not incentivized to capture the source of the lead, or the market positioning, or certainly some product thing. It seems to be like an age-old source of information that's desired from other departments, but is not intrinsically captured by individual contributors. So I really like that description of that use case there.
Yeah, and something that folks might be thinking, because this was something that we had to grapple with. It's like, well, AI is not going to be perfect. Like, it's probably going to get the answer wrong sometimes. with whether it's the competitors mentioned or their current solution. Like, is it gonna mix those things up? And we did an analysis and pulled a bunch of records. And what we noticed is that the human input was just as unreliable or more unreliable than Momentum. So because previously we simply had Momentum prompt the rep with the information,
Sure.
and then they would have to manually click update. And that happened most of the time, but it still wasn't perfect. And then we made the decision to change to Momentum automatically filling out the field for the rep to then correct if they needed to. And the information was better on balance. It's never going to be fully perfect, but it was better than relying on reps to do it, which I know is something that other people have had questions about.
Yeah, something too that we like to, because I think that our vision is to kind of be at a place where, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, we're all embracing that there could be this autofill of the CRM and auto syncing of information, just sort of accepting that this part of the job is just not a core part of the job, not people's core competency. And also it just ends up being busy work, like it or not. But what we start with today, because I think there's a bit of a crawl, walk, run approach, because we are kind of changing how we think about this as an industry, is to do something like, hey, how about for every call, let's just capture a next step and sync that automatically to Salesforce. Sure. Feels like a low stakes, but it actually has a high impact. If every single opportunity has a next step, what does that do for your rep, your manager, your RevOps, just having that source of data now captured? And then you can graduate to, okay, maybe we could have MedPick filled out automatically. Let's have budget captured, high, medium, low. We have the ability to kind of recognize if it's a pick list value. So you could start with kind of the lower stake ones, and then hopefully over time, as the models keep improving and as an industry, we're kind of buying into this thesis, we get to the place where we as reps and as customer success are just not having to have that part be part of the day, which is the admin side of it.
Yeah, it really resonates with me. I know in my last role, we actually did a training where we identified a couple of keywords and phrases that were big impacts for the sale. And just even from an enablement standpoint, we found, extremely anecdotally, that the more that positioning was used, the more effective the sales would be. Now, good luck scaling that, and we had a really hard time doing it, but just, hearing some of the descriptions of how you described it, it's inspiring. So, Shin, I saw you come back on camera here.
Yeah, I think that was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. And, instead of all these questions, we see just mostly comments of how awesome, how awesome it is. So thank you very much. Yeah, I think, Greg, if you want to roll us out.
Sure. Yeah, we'll probably end. Sorry, go ahead, Ashley. Did you say something?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you so much. It was great to present.
No, thanks, Ashley, and thanks, Kyle. I think for everyone there, we're going to end a little bit early. We'll give you some time back in the day. We appreciate you all joining our demo day number 3. Our next one is on the 25th. We'll be sending out an email with how to link up and how to get info, and certainly connect with everyone. Feel free to be active in the Pavilion chat. Thank you so much for all of our sponsors for showcasing their new technologies, and please reach out to the team with any questions you have. That's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, everyone.